Good morning, good morning. We are back on air and live on Facebook. The name is Serena Mwale with you in the studio for today's edition of the Weekend Pulse. Now, we're still talking all things governance, all things the state of the economy and the direction of Zambia as we are in a very critical year. I'm not alone in the studio. We are joined by no other than the deputy spokesperson of the Tonse Alliance, Mr. Mukupa Kolala. Good morning.
Good morning, Serena. How are you?
I'm great.
Good morning to the listeners out there.
Awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm great. I'm great. Mr. Kolala, you were in the studio just a couple of weeks ago. Highlight for us what's different since you were in the studio. I think it's been what, 3 weeks or so.
Yes.
What's new for you? How's been that part of 2026? I think you've been up to a lot. Just give us an update.
Okay, so I think the last time I came to the studio, I was a governance activist, and I was talking on behalf of my institution, which is called the Center for Leadership, Afro Democracy, and Good Governance.
Okay.
And straight from the show, we had a meeting in the Tonse Alliance, and I was appointed as deputy spokesperson. And it's something that came unexpected, but it did happen.
Really?
And so this time around, I'm coming in a different capacity. So I was talking more of personal last time, but now it's a bit more of a representative capacity because I know that I'm speaking for and on behalf of. But obviously, looking at some of the questions, I think they nudge my intelligence, so I'll try and give personal opinions to that.
Okay.
And I'll be able to give a disclaimer and say this is as of me.
That's very important
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
Before we get deep into the topic, I know once you and I start going back and forth about governance and politics, we won't stop. I would like to appreciate the fact that we're getting into Youth Week, right?
Oh,
Youth
yes,
Day is coming
yes,
up.
yes.
Arise and soar is our theme. Mr. Kolala, I don't know if you are youth. You will tell us if you want to. I don't know. I don't like to assume. But yes. First of all, we're building up to a very important week,
Yes.
big period of the year.
Yes.
What does this year's theme mean for you? Arise and soar. If you could bring it home to you as Mukupa Kolala, how would you interpret it?
That's a very powerful theme, by the way. So arise and soar. I would think that as a youth, you own your destiny.
Okay.
And owning it means that you must be able to drive your own agenda. So people will not entrust that which they cannot see in you. It first must reflect within you. Then the outside will approve of it. And so what that means is that it is giving a platform for the young people to search themselves, find what talents and capabilities they have within them, and asking them to use those same talents to actually soar, to rise and push whatever frontiers that you can. So it's limitless and sky's the limit. And I think that's how I would look at it in a very short phrase. Yeah.
How would you describe your time? You didn't confirm. You are youth?
No. I'm a very old man, Serena, by the way.
Okay.
Don't I look very old? I actually have white hair in my head, eh? No,
we
but
don't
I'm old.
assume over here. We don't. But on that note, I just want you to maybe describe your time as a youth. How active were you in governance, political issues? What impacted you the most as a young person? Because you've talked about arise and soar, and that
Yes.
begins with also your grounding, your position in society. How are you contributing to these national matters? Would you dab yourself as someone that was an active youth, a youth of substance?
Oh, yes, definitely. Now, I'll take you back. When I was in high school, I think in my 11th grade, I was appointed as what we were calling then. I don't know if it happens now. We were calling it the students board representative. So they would pick 2 students in high school, the entire school.
Wow.
And I was picked and I had a deputy. That was the beginning of representation. And when I got to grade 12, so I remember when I was in grade 11, I was 17 years old. And when I was in grade 12, I was 18 years old. In grade 12, I then became a prefect at my school. Of course, I was prefect even at primary school. So that was another leadership position. Now, I'll take you to college, when I was at Evelyn College in 2006, when I was actually graduating, I was the Students' Union Vice President.
Okay.
That was the beginning of my experience and exposure in this political and, at large scale.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am not just trying to talk about leadership experience, I'm trying to showcase how I was able to apply myself with the skills that I had possessed and see how I could contribute.
Okay.
And also how that would also help me as an individual. So I was that, and I was very fortunate, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately I graduated, I got a job in the bank. And I worked in the bank for 17 years. So I am a banker of 17 years. And I want to say that when I was still a youth, and I'm repeating, this is for the youth out there. When I was still a youth, I rose to the position of country head of sales at a commercial bank. And that commercial bank is the leading bank in Zambia right now.
Beautiful. I
was still a youth. I think when I was appointed in that role, I was 33, if I'm not mistaken. 32, 33.
Okay.
Yes, that's how old I was. I want to tell you that in the bank, I managed 3 different branches. And I became a branch manager when I was 28 years old.
Wow.
That's a challenge to the youth. What am I trying to say, in other words? What I'm trying to say, Serena, is that you need to own your destiny as a young person. You need to show that you are capable. You need to bring value and substance to the table. Only then will people take it that way. But we find that the youths nowadays are more on wanting to be on the receiving end, wanting to be more of those that are going to be used, even for things like political violence and all these things that are unwarranted in our society. Our youths become a nuisance. But I want to say that once you are of age, begin to set targets, begin to set goals for yourself. And every year, begin to mark against those goals. Am I achieving? Am I moving according to program? Or have I veered off? And personally, I told myself that I will only review. I actually gave my life in stages. I don't review my goals annually. I told myself by 25, I must be this. By 30, I must be this. By 35, by 40. Is what I'm saying. And I make sure I work towards that. And at the end of each cycle, I tick against and see, am I achieving what I'm supposed to do? Now, that's the kind of mindset we need in our young people. To say that the youth is not the leader for tomorrow, it is the leader for now. I want to take you back.
Okay.
President Kaunda became president of Zambia at 40. President Chilwa became president of Zambia, I think at 40 also, but in those age ranges.
Yeah.
They were fairly young in comparison to what we see now. So the youth are not the leaders of tomorrow, they're the leaders of today. But how does it start? It starts by youth being responsible, being able to show that they have the capabilities for the society and for the people out there to entrust in them responsibilities and leadership roles.
Okay, yeah. Amazing. I think that's a great way to just prepare us to get into Youth Week. March is just tomorrow, but I think your advice, it's not just about the Youth Week. It's not just about Youth Day. It's every single day when the young people can make a difference in their lives. And from what you've mentioned, I'm getting that it starts from beyond the national forums, right? It starts when that youth is sitting, what they're doing in the spaces that they're in. Amazing insights. Let's now get into the gist of today's conversation. We have quite a lot to catch up on when it comes to pertinent issues, when it comes to the economy, politics, governance, you name it. There's a lot to talk about. You mentioned that you're here in quite an interesting capacity today, but let's just touch from the economic standpoint, right? On the 20th of February, something very important happened. We did get a State of the Nation address from the President of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema. He was, of course, giving updates on some achievements from the national values and principles. Just briefly, he touched on education. He mentioned that over 2.5 million children have been returned to school under the free education policy and supported by nearly 42,000 newly recruited teachers, and a record 70% grade 12 pass rate as well was achieved. He also talked about the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, that it had been increased from 1.6 million to 40 million kwacha per constituency. Social cash transfer was talked about as well. He also talked about the recruitment of 18,000 health workers. Now, of course, we could go on and on. A lot was mentioned, but just to give us insights into what was talked about, this is what was mentioned. I want to get your thoughts on the State of the Nation address. I know you've been definitely keeping up to date with what's been happening. What stood out for you in terms of national priorities?
Serena,
that laugh sounds dangerous. I'm just gonna say it, but please go on.
That's a very interesting question. You see, when speeches of such a nature are given in Parliament or whatever forum, there is a lot of expectation that is there. And I don't want to sound political or just being being outrageous or anything like that. I think I want to say that there was much that, from my standpoint, I had expected. I expected to see a lot of pronouncements made that are coming from actions taken, outcomes that are tangible, that we can all see. Now, let me give you this example. It's one thing to say we are doing this and this is happening. If we, the people that are supposed to see and feel, can't see it, can't feel it, can't touch it, it becomes a challenge. So if, Serena, you're going to tell me that you have eaten, I need to see the reality of you having eaten. I don't expect you to say you have eaten, yet you are showing me that you are hungry. You understand what I'm saying? So what I see in that speech is there is a lot of promise. There is a lot of I did this, we've done that, but we can't really see it. It is not tangible. Let me break it down for you. I've had a number of years in the financial sector.
Okay.
I understand economics so well. I cannot be lied to. Maybe someone else. How do I back it up when I say inflation has dropped to 7.5%? How do I back it up if I say production, or if I say our GDP has gone up, when I know for a fact that one of the factors to production is electricity, and Zambia has not had power the last 4 years. When I say has not had, I mean we've been load shedded tremendously. So how do I back it up that GDP has gone up when I know that the factors that lead to production have been impacted? How do I believe that? Because I know that the outcomes I am supposed to see, the outcomes I'm supposed to feel, should come as a result of those measures that have been taken into account. How do you explain to me, Serena, that the dollar genuinely has dropped down to 18 kwacha? The fuel has dropped to whatever price, and you give me this very good picture and impression, and yet the price of the commodity at the market still remains the same. Fuel is still going at 28 kwacha. I'm still buying meal at 350 kwacha, Serena. Despite all these pronouncements, can I feel? Look at the cost of living. I'll give you this example. The basic needs and nutrition basket as of 2021 was showing that every family to survive needed 8,400 kwacha. That was 2021. Today, as I speak, 2026, it's in the range of 12,000 to 13,000 kwacha per family. Now, how many families in our country are having disposable income of between 12,000 and 13,000 kwacha? In other words, how many families in our current state are able to feed their families breakfast, lunch, and supper? Our people are still struggling to feed their families. I mean, the cost of living has gone high. Our people have been load shedded. And I want to tell you that the majority of our people in Zambia are very poor. They thrive on these small, small businesses and these small, small, small incomes and livelihoods. Small things like owning a saloon, owning a barber shop, owning a welding machine. In the absence of electricity, how do you expect them to survive? And Serena, when I look at you, I can tell that you are okay. You are much, much better than the people out there.
Mm.
But if I was to ask you, are you managing to meet all your needs? The answer is no. I know you won't tell me, but I know. And why is that so? It's because our cost of living still remains high. We have so many of these things that have impacted us. And that's why I'm saying that when all those economic projections were being made in Parliament by our president, is he able to back it up with tangibles, outcomes that people can say, yes, as a result of the economy doing fine, because he was boasting of a very good economy. But if the economy is doing fine, are the prices of goods and services reflective of an economy that is doing fine? And like I said, I am just mentioning a few things. When I talk about things like cost of doing business, cost of living, these things have an impact into the overall goal or the overall outcome of an economy.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is, what I saw mostly in that speech that was delivered in Parliament is more of rhetoric. It is more of saying we have done this to create an impression, to create a narrative. But the reality on the ground is that people are suffering. And when I say this, I mean that the suffering, actually, Serena, has heightened the time that the UPND government took over office up until now. I know I'm the Tonse Alliance spokesperson, and at this point, I am speaking as an individual because I face these things. I have got school-going kids. Prices of school fees have gone up. I spend more on transport because of fuel. I spend more on food. I spend more on groceries because cost of living has gone up. Things like mealie meal, sugar, name it. So we must rise above just speaking and thinking that the Zambians will just take it in, soak it in, and move on. We now need to start holding our leaders accountable. You talked about national values and that the presidential speech was premised on national values. We need to engender real values in our people, values that speak to honesty, values that speak to respecting human life and dignity, values that speak to how we enhance our nation in the economic sector.
Okay.
And these are things that we must begin to look to point out. Why would I then say that we are experiencing a peaceful environment? We no longer have cadres, but we do get to see these cadres in bus stations, markets, and all that. And I want to take it up. I want to take it further, Serena. Why do we always think cadres are just in the bus stop, in the markets, and the streets? We have political cadres that are busy running some of these quasi-government institutions.
Okay.
Those are cadres. There's no difference. Maybe, let me put it this way, those are glorified cadres. Still remains, they are cadres. So, we should not say we're not doing this, yet you're still doing it. And one thing that I have as a challenge with our current president and the UPND government is they would say this, but they would divert. So even as we give these speeches, as we make these pronouncements, let us be factual. Let us be real. You've talked of free education. Yes, I want to say that free education is a good policy. It's a good policy. We just need to refine it. We need to look at the pupil teacher ratio. That is very, very important. I know that with the coming of the PF government in 2011, especially under the leadership of President Michael Sata and obviously President Edgar Lungu, there was a robust program on infrastructure development. And one of the things that they really got into is the schools,
Yeah.
the hospitals. I think if I'm not mistaken, they actually built about 600 health posts countrywide. Now that is massive. So those facilities were provided. The next thing or the next step that was supposed to then take place is a recruitment of teachers so that we have a healthy relationship between the pupil and the teacher. That also helps to achieve the outcomes that you're talking about, Serena. Because if the pupils in the classrooms, and if let me put it this way, if the classrooms are not crowded, because the crowding affects the learning. So if you have that kind of rapport between teacher and pupil, you then achieve the outcomes you're referring to.
Okay.
Given the current scenario, it's difficult to prove that. So it's a good thing that free education was introduced, but then comes in a problem. It is a good problem, but we must see that there is deliberate effort that's going into mitigating that problem.
Okay. So, Mr. Kolala, you've taken us to a very interesting direction. I think we had a conversation before we got on air about how it's so important that as we bring some of these issues to light, we're talking in form of solution-driven speech, right? And when it comes to what you mentioned about the free education policy, you took us to the direction of refining it, making it quality, I would like to believe. You also mentioned cost of living. Let's dive a little deeper on that one. I want to hear from you. You have vast experience when it comes to the economy and just dealing with issues like this. What measures do you feel can be put in place to ease the pressure on households?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I think that when you are sorting an issue, for example, the challenge that was there prior to the introduction of free education, the problem that was there is that most of our people were uneducated, and most of the families in our nation could not afford to pay school fees. So that was a problem. So we went into identification of the problem. After we identify the problem, the next step is what do we then do to alleviate this challenge? So the next thing was to introduce free education. I feel that what should have taken place is before you enroll, you must say, okay, the best would be let us employ teachers first. Make sure that they are stationed at the point that you then enroll these children in class. We don't have these classrooms overcrowding because that has negatively impacted the learning of our kids. So that should have happened first. So I think that it was swapped. What should have taken place first took place second. That was going to cut out this problem. So even as we enroll or as we roll out some of these plans, we must be very systematic and very strategic. Because at the end, instead of sorting a problem, you then end up creating another problem. However, on free education, I would say it is a good problem. Because why do I say so? We need to manage our literacy levels in our nation. And I think talking about the Youth Week and all those things that are surrounding the youths, I think part of the problem is because most of our people are illiterate. Most of our people have not been to school. And that is why it is very important that most of our kids are taken to school to wash out the illiteracy. That then helps them apply themselves even better. If that was the drive, I understand, but we have to look at the pupil-teacher ratio. That way, we will wholesomely deal with the problem.
Yeah, let's get to touch on the cost of living. As mentioned, you talked about the dollar. We've seen the dollar, of course, drastically drop, dollar to kwacha ratio. Tell us about the cost of living. You, of course, highlighted it, but we want to know what measures would now be able to be put in place to ease the pressure on households. We haven't yet seen the impact of the dollar dropping on the prices of commodities. Prices of goods are still high. What can be done for the people?
Okay. I have always believed, Serena, that what's not broken should not be fixed. Fix what is broken. I want to start by saying that. And why am I beginning by saying that? I'm beginning by saying that because I think as a nation, Serena, we need to move away from these politics, or because it was this government that was in power. When I come in, I should get rid of everything they were doing and introduce new things.
That's a good point.
Part of the problem why we are in this situation is because of what I have just alluded to. When UPND took over government in 2021, some of the things were running okay. They didn't need to fix them to prove a point. They fixed them, and in the end, they fixed our people. They fixed us. Now we need to get out of this challenge. Now, you see, when the UPND took over government in 2021, we were told that the dollar was going to reduce to below 10 kwacha per dollar. You and I know what happened the last 4 years. We saw the dollar going as high as 30 kwacha per dollar. Now, this year, 2026, which is an election year, we've seen the dollar drop to 20, we've seen 20 kwacha, 19. It's been trading between 20, 18, 19 kwacha, thereabout. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And when I say it's a good thing, I am hoping that the current rate of the FX, when I say FX, I mean foreign currency, the current FX, if the current FX rate is genuine, it must then begin to reflect into prices of goods and commodities. Now, here's how it happens. Zambia, Serena, is an all-import nation. Zambia only exports copper. What does that mean? It means that everything that we use in this nation is imported outside. What currency do we use to purchase those goods and services? We use the dollar. So when they come into this nation, when the dollar is high, what does that do? It then begins to inform the price of goods and services. What that means is that when the dollar reduces, or should I say when the kwacha against the dollar reduces, that means the kwacha gains power, and we are able to see that reflect in the prices. Now, we need to come to what is called a balance of payments. Your exports and your imports. You must begin to get to a place where you export more than you import. That's a story for another day, and I don't want to get too technical here.
Okay.
Now, when you begin to export more, it means that when you export, you are attracting foreign currency in the economy. And the dollar works on speculation, right? So if the dollar is accessible, it reduces its power. If it is inaccessible, it increases its price. That's how it works. So when the dollar, in short, I'll use economic terms, when the dollar is scarce, it increases its value. Let me put it this way. I'm sorry, but I'll give this example. It's like a woman. A woman that anybody out there can have has no value. Am I right?
Or a man that anybody out there can have. Yeah.
Serena, I like that.
No, it's true. Let's not get to that conversation.
Okay. But I think it's a good example. That's
Yes.
I know that when I give such an example, the listener out there will not forget the example I have given.
For sure.
Than if I gave a very classroom-like example.
Okay.
But this one will stick. So, but if everybody's like, Gero ija, guys uja, that gives that girl or that guy value. That's the same with the dollar. So why am I saying this? We are in this situation as a country because we do not export as much as we should. So because we don't export, we only import. So we are externalizing the FX. So because we are externalizing the FX in our economy is scarce. So because it is scarce, it gives the FX value. That's the best explanation I can give. Now, when we see reduction of the FX, because we are an all-import nation, if the FX rate has dropped, that should be seen in the cost of goods and services. It has reduced. We are boasting of an inflation that has come down to 7.5%. What is inflation? How is inflation defined? So if we are boasting of all these economic gains, because that to me shows a reflection of an economic gain. So if we have an economic gain, why then can that translate? That is the problem that I have. So what do we need to do? We need to create more industry. We need to build capacity within our SMEs, because it's individuals like me that start up business, which grows into an SME, and it is an SME that then graduates into a large corporate. It is the large corporates that then begin to pay tax, and then they contribute to the national treasury, which then speaks into our GDP. Now, I don't want to get too technical.
You getting technical is really important for breaking it down. You've just talked about illiteracy, and before we get to the actual school structure, I think conversations like this are what helps some people to better get to understand what's going on. So I was about to say, don't be afraid to get too technical, because then you're telling people what's going on, and
Yes.
telling people the state of the country is bad is one thing, but explaining to them why and defending your point is another thing. Not that that's what I'm saying, but just as a practical example
Exactly.
to what you're talking about.
Exactly. So, if I am going to see a reduction in the inflation from over 9% to about 7.5%, and if I see the reduction of the FX rate, that tells me that certain fundamentals are doing correct. It's a tick in the box.
Okay.
So if they are doing well, and if they are doing fair, that means that I must be able to see a tangible outcome in the price of mealie meal, in the price of fuel, in the price of basic needs and commodities. I must be able to see it. Now, the problem is indicators show that the economy is performing fine, but the person out there can't feel it. It is a problem. What needs to happen? I am imploring the government. Right now, what we have is the UPND government, and I'm imploring the UPN government to make sure that these things begin to translate into outcomes that people can feel, can see, can touch. That way we will appreciate. Otherwise, it just remains on paper and nothing else changes.
Interesting. Another key measure of strong economy, I would like to believe, I don't know how to put this, but this is something that I did some research into some time back, is that a healthy economy or country must be able to provide a means of living for its people. In this case, a means of living meaning jobs, employment. We started our conversation with talking about the youth, young people forming a larger percentage of the country. But youth unemployment remains an issue that we've been talking about, not just in this current government, but for a long time we've been talking about youth unemployment. Now, from your expert standpoint, what needs to be done to create more jobs? So if it's not creating jobs, what else can maybe the young people look into? Maybe you can also advise the young people on that one. Is it we need to create jobs? Is it we need to get into businesses? We've had some people advising the youth as well to say, be innovative, start a business, don't look for a job. Yes, jobs can be created, but also find something to do. Let me get your expert standpoint on that.
Excellent. So I'm giving my expert response. These are not the views of the Tonse Alliance.
Okay.
Because I speak for the Tonse Alliance. I am the deputy spokesperson. So when I speak, I want to be very sure that I am representing, and I'm representing well. However, the comments I'm about to make are not representative or are a representation of the Tonse Alliance. So here's how it goes, Serena. I just think that it should start from our curriculum.
Okay.
We have a curriculum that already tells us from a very formative stage and age that you go to school up to 12th grade. Thereafter, you go to uni and get a job. Tell me, if everybody in our population went to school, finished, would they get a job? The answer is no. What needs to happen? We need to start teaching people when they are still young other skills that they can be empowered with, that can be life-changing and life-transforming, to a point that when they complete 12th grade, should they decide to proceed to go to college or uni, that's fine. But if they do so, they can still make a living out of their own lives. I'll give an example. Our friends from the Asian community do so well. You find that he or she owns a shop. The child will be selling in the shop. That child will go to school, and maybe they're in grade 7, even up to grade 9, 10, even up to grade 12. The time they knock off from school, up to the time the parents knock off, they are in the shop selling with the parents. They know how to sell, they know how to count money, they know. That is how you begin to teach a child. And the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go. When he is old, he will not depart. It starts from there. So because in our mindsets, we are trained that go to school and get a job. That's why we go to school, finish uni, and we have all these youths with college degrees and all these master's degrees, and yet they've packed them and they're still walking the streets of Lusaka. Of what value is that to our economy? So our youths from a tender age, I know that in schools, we used to have back then, because like I told you, I'm a very old man, Serena. When I was young those days in high school, we had what we used to call the careers master. Some schools used to call it the bazaar. That is the person you would walk up to and say, my plan is to do this in life. And once that happens, you'll find that that's the point where when you're going to grade 10, mostly you would pick, okay, I'm going to take principles of accounts. Okay, I'll take technical drawing. And those that took accounts are the CFOs we see today. Those that took technical drawing are the ones that we see. What do you call these? They are who are these guys who build houses? What do you call them? So what do you call them? These what's
construction workers?
Exactly. What's that course? How can it go? Like
design and construction,
architectures.
Okay.
You see? So I think that we must change our curriculum from the time that we are young. We must be able to know that I aspire to be this. And so all my years in school, I will start learning how to become this thing that I want to be. If I was to ask you, you did history, right? Did you?
Yeah.
You learned about proconsul? What has that done for you right now? Does that speak into what you do right now?
No.
Well, I love math and I'm very good at math. But if I look, trigonometry, you remember trigonometry? Calculus? What has that got to do with what I'm doing right now? You see what I'm saying? So we must begin to structure our curriculum in such a way that it models young people to be the best of who they want to become, not just relying on jobs. Fast forward. For those who have yielded to the core and say, I don't want to work for nobody. All I want to do is I want to do business. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to work for myself. What kind of incentives do we have that help sponsor that kind of idea? So there could be you, there could be me. I have an idea, but I lack the resource. What environment does government create to ensure it is an environment that supports or fosters personal ambition in terms of how they can better promote a business idea, a proposal, and things like that? We find that commercial banks that are actually run or governed by the central bank do not have so much flexibility when it comes to dealing with SMEs and how they promote them. There are all these stringent rules that surround them. We have to create enabling environment for our young people. We have to create an enabling environment for our SMEs to ensure that they thrive even as they try to apply themselves. And I'm not in any way trying to propagate for those that are lazy, those that don't want to work. I am talking about those that want to apply themselves and apply themselves correctly.
So what stood out for me from what you said, right, when you're talking about when you went to the curriculum, we know that we can call it recently, had, can we say, reform or revised a revision of the education curriculum. We saw a few changes here and there. So now it leads me to obviously then get your views on that. Are we saying that, okay, we revised the curriculum, but after the revision, there's still areas where we did not touch well on the curriculum to be able to shape young people for their future?
It goes back to what I was saying in my preamble. Let's set out outcomes that are tangible, that people can see and feel. Right now, if that is being done, then I would say we are yet to see the results. But so far, there is nothing that is there to show. I think you can agree. There's nothing to show for it. personally, I would want to
nothing in general, or nothing from the curriculum?
From the curriculum.
Okay.
There's nothing. All I saw, well, maybe it's because I'm not in high school, but all I saw, all I saw is that we now have exams in grade 6. And I saw we now have exams in, is it grade 11? Okay, they're calling it from something.
Yeah, it's now we've transitioned to calling
exactly,
it from 1, from 2.
Exactly. So I want to see over and above the forms and the grade 6, I want to see tangible outcomes that are going to allow certain pupils to emerge successful as a result of what they have planned. And we see that the environment that has been created by the government and the systems in place support such kind of ideas. For now, I'm yet to see that. If you've seen it, maybe you can actually, I'm open to this. Yeah, but I haven't seen that. Okay. So I think that's what needs to happen. Only when that happens, we are then going to say, we will talk of job creation. We are going to talk about private sector involvement. We are going to talk about youth empowerment. We are then going to talk about deliberate policies that help our young people thrive outside the school curriculum. I think with what I have said, if such ideas and incentives are implemented, we are going to see a very noticeable change in unemployment levels.
Okay. On that note, for our listeners, you can be a part of the conversation. We are still live on air, and we are live on Facebook on Capital FM 99.7. On Facebook, we can see the comments, and we will get to reading them shortly. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep leaving your comments. Keep leaving your thoughts on the topic that we are having today. We are touching on governance issues. We're taking a look at recent happenings in the country, and just getting comments from Mr. Mukupa Kolala. He is the deputy spokesperson for the Tonse Alliance. Mr. Kolala, we've touched on quite a lot, like we always aim to do when we have you in the studio, from the curriculum to the state of the economy, to talking about jobs as well. I think that's quite important. Let's touch on the health sector. Important part of literally any given nation. I think health is wealth, as the saying goes. Yes. We've had a lot of happenings in the health sector, in particular on service delivery, and this has always been a major concern for me. I want to get your thoughts on the health sector. Maybe we can also talk about doctor to patient ratio, the quality of our health facilities, availability of medicines. What's your input on that one? And if you could pinpoint any area of improvement that could be made to that sector, what would it be, and how could we begin implementing it?
Okay, thanks. I may not have all the answers, but I want to start by saying, let me also nudge you a bit, Serena. We need to get to a place where our health workers and also our teachers. I want to begin with these two. Our health workers and our teachers. How can we get to a place that we only attract people who are called in that field? Called as in CALLED, not COLD. Why am I giving that difference? What we see in the health sector first is people that are COLD. They are called. Baritalala. We need people who are called Valitwa to the service. It starts from there. Why is it that all of a sudden we have all these education schools, colleges, health sciences, this, that, and we get these people who go there who don't even know how to treat a client. They don't know how to treat a patient. I know you asked me a different question. I'm just now beginning to throw this to you.
Okay.
How many times have you been to the hospital and you are unwell, yet you are treated badly by a health professional? And my next question is, who ensures that this type of behavior is not passed on to the next patient? Remember, the people pay for that through taxes. And through taxes, we can say VAT, or it is whatever form of tax. But we pay for those medicines. It is the money that we pay in form of taxes that pays those people their salaries. But why do they have bad attitude and no commitment towards work and towards... I wanted to start with that first. Then now I will come to what you are saying. Of course, we have very, very challenging situations where we have hospitals, yet there is no medicine. We have hospitals, yet people come back with prescriptions. If the hospital is going to deal or attend with you, maybe what they'll give you is just Panadol or paracetamol, and thereafter give you a prescription to go to the hospital. My question is, it comes back to what I told you. There are so many pronouncements made by politicians. They promise heaven on earth. We will do this, we will do that. When they come into office, none of that happens. So, talking about the health sector, there are so many things that have to be addressed in the health sector. It is actually a very critical sector. And I want to say that okay, let me be a bit political. I'm a politician, by the way.
Okay.
You're taking me into this professional channel. I'm now into politics. I am glad that Honorable Muchima was kicked out of the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
He is not fit to be in that office.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, and let me come to that. We have a lot of challenges in the health sector. Let me take it back. Do you remember when Honorable Sylvia Masebo was leaving Ministry of Health to go to Ministry of, I don't know where she was taken. I even get confused. When she was you remember when she was handing over? There was that video circulating on social media where she was shouting at, okay, I don't know if it's shouting, or there was an exchange between her and I don't know if those are staff members. Did you see that video? And I am asking myself, we have a lot of problems here. Starting from recruitment, starting from recruitment, going to provision of medicines, specialized treatment. I am yet to confirm, and I want to say I am yet to confirm, I need to confirm this. I know that as of last year, cancer patients were being evacuated because some machines at UTH had gone down. Did you come across that information?
No.
Yes, there was that. So patients were being taken to, is it India and Israel, or is it India and Tanzania? One of the two, something like that. I just need to get my facts right. Okay. And when I'm saying that, I want to be very, very factual. But I know that there was something like that. So our cancer disease hospital was not functioning at optimum. And I asked myself, is that the way it's supposed to be? Certainly not. Imagine how many number of our people die on account of that. Those that have money are able to evacuate themselves to other countries and get treatment. Does it mean that the right to life then only happens or is only there for the rich? What happens if you're poor but need medical attention? What kind of policies are we putting in place that enable our poor majority access health facilities? And I'm not just talking about access, but I'm talking about quality health. How accessible are our health facilities to our people? Do we still have instances of our pregnant mothers having to walk long distances to go and deliver? Do we still have instances of hospitals that have broken down mortuaries? These are things we see. So what policies are we implementing as a people, as a government, that help foster those issues? So it goes back to the first statement I made when I just started to speak. I said, how deliberate is a UPND government in making sure that policy is executed and implemented, that the outcomes can be touched, can be felt, and can be seen? Right now, what we have, Serena, is a disaster. Can we do better? Yes, we can. What does it take to do better? We need political will. It's the politicians that make decisions. It's the politicians that actually decide for the people and make these things happen. They're the ones that sign all these agreements for us. They're the ones that create the policy. If that is not done, we will not be able to see these things trickle down. If I was to ask you, maybe I am just ignorant. What is the health policy in the UPND government that tries to foster quality health care for our people? Maybe I don't know. I've never seen it. And these are things we need to be discussing. To me, these are very, very critical issues. They stand at the heart of our society. We are talking, Serena, of human dignity. We're talking of human life. Zambia should not be having cholera in 2025, 2024, 2026. It is unacceptable. We can't be talking about cholera. Does it make sense to you? After all these years of being independent, and we still have cholera, and people die like that?
But Mr. Kolala, one would be tempted to add on to that particular point by saying that we've had cholera as well in previous regimes. You said you are speaking as the politician that you are in this particular line of topic, right? So to that point, this has been going on for some time, right? So we can also now maybe, if we're taking that direction, we can say it's not only this regime that has had cholera, it's been there before. How would you respond to that?
Thank you. Serena, I have been here quite long enough. I am 42 years old. I have seen things. I don't think I'm young. In the history of this nation, I have never seen the levels of cholera cases that I saw in 2024. That was unprecedented. Look at the number of deaths that were recorded. Did you ever take a trip to the Hero Stadium? I went there. And I saw how every minute dead bodies were being transferred out. How family members were standing in the peripherals of the Hero Stadium war fence, waiting to hear an update or the progress on their patients. And I could see how they were looking with so much despair in their eyes. And I'm telling myself, this can be avoided. Is there a level of human error? Yes, there is, but largely it's about the environment. Who has been charged with the responsibility to ensure that we have clean drinking water? Who has been charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the toilets that people make in these some of these our townships they meet standard? Who is in charge of that? And have they done what they're supposed to do? It starts there. You see, I don't want to sound like everybody who's going to come and say, hey, the European government did this, they didn't do that. No. Where I think the best is, if we identify a problem, we must establish where does a problem start from.
Okay.
That's the only way you'll be able to resolve a problem. So you cannot resolve a problem if you don't sort out the root cause. So in this particular instance, it goes to town planning, it goes to water reticulation, it goes to human settlement. And I agree with you. Yes, it is not a thing of the UPND, but I want to say that the levels of cholera heightened cases in the UPND government, to me, are the highest I have ever seen.
Okay.
And I'm talking of 2024, 2025, we saw unprecedented numbers of cholera cases. That is a sad state of affairs. That speaks into the health issues that you're asking me about. I know you're asking me a specific question. I've tried to drive you the other way. And I'm trying to make you see how some of these things happen, what challenges they pose, and how we can resolve them as a nation, because they speak into the overall goal of all those issues that you're talking about in terms of the health sector.
Okay. Yeah. So speaking of the health sector, I think we can have this conversation without mentioning recent news that we've gotten very much related to the health sector, which is that the United States government, of course, under the Trump administration, has been, I guess, wanting to give health funding packages to certain countries in Africa. Before we heard word of Zambia rejecting this package, Zimbabwe as well as one of the countries. I'm hearing from news updates that Burkina Faso accepted this funding package. The reason highlighted for rejecting this package is that it gives access to sensitive citizen data, and I quote, because we don't know what exactly that data would entail, but we all know that we have personal information that we don't want to get out there. I want to touch your thoughts on that one. We can't touch on the health sector without, addressing such an elephant in the room. Your thoughts on this package, really. You can touch on it from the international perspective and African countries' standpoint, the countries that are standing their ground and rejecting this package. And it's a lot of money, obviously, by the way. Yeah.
That package, in my view, is not a good deal. That's not a good deal, and I would implore the government of the UPND not to accept it. I have come across information that is relating to that package, and I know some of the things that they want to sponsor.
Is that data that you can give us?
No. And that's why I'm saying.
You have come across. Okay.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying. So you see, I sometimes refrain from giving certain comments because I want to see full information.
Okay.
If the information I have is not fully fledged,
okay,
I try to avoid to make a comment because I don't want to make a comment on things I'm not fully. But the information I have seen so far, let me give you an idea, or let me give you an example. Sorry, I've come across that they want. It's an example.
Okay.
I heard. Okay, I read.
Okay.
I
allegedly.
Read. Yes, thank you. Allegedly. It is alleged that they want to collect urine samples of our people to go and test in their laboratories in the US. Thereafter, formulate a vaccine, which they'll come back and sell in the future. That's why I'm saying it is alleged.
It's allegedly, yeah.
That already is a no. It doesn't make sense.
So,
yes, it doesn't make sense. That then exposes us and our people. I can go on and on, but I want to be very careful with what I'm saying.
Okay.
I must also be able to say that it was wrong for the Ministry of Health to involve in serious and rampant corrupt activities, which led to some of the withdrawal of the United States government in giving access to some of these funds. The question I then ask is, if we did not find ourselves in that situation as Zambia, were we going to be looking to this new deal? Do you get my thinking? Well, I don't know what the answer is.
So, just on that point, just to clear what you're saying, we want to leave no room for misinterpretation, especially on platforms like media. You're saying that it was the corruption that was taking place in the ministry, and I quote, that's what you said, right, is what led to the withdrawal of the US funding that was existing.
Yes. The US government withdrew funds, donor aid, in the Ministry of Health because of corruption. And even the Auditor General cited corruption in the Ministry of Health. It is there. I'm not speculating. This is there. The speculation I was giving is on the urine samples that it is alleged that they are wanting. That one I said is but the corruption in the Ministry of Health is there, and that's why the American government pulled some of its donor support. It's there. It's a fact. And I'm saying, what actions have been taken by our current government to make sure that those who were cited in these corrupt activities were brought to book? Remember, if funds are embezzled, which were meant to buy antiretroviral treatment for our people, malaria drugs, mosquito nets, and all these things, the stealing or the theft by those public servants affects or negatively impacts our people who are supposed to access those medical facilities. So, in other words, I'm saying, what action has been taken to those or against those who stole public funds in the Ministry of Health? Because it is that theft that sometimes leads us to discussions like what we're having. We are trying to gloss over certain important things, right? And yet want to start looking for more help and more funding and more this and more. If we had dealt the issues of financing in the Ministry of Health quite well, I think some of these conversations don't have been there. If you'd ask me, speaking from the Tonse Alliance perspective, I was expecting more ministers to be fired, not just Vamuchima and Mubanga. I was expecting some more to be fired. Why? On account of these issues. If it is alleged, let them prove. Let them prove. And I know the reason I'm speaking like this, Serena, is because you told me I should not campaign on this platform. So I am trying hard not to speak as a politician. I'm trying to speak as an informed citizen who can contribute
to meaningful conversations.
Yes, to meaningful, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And that's why I'm saying, let us take those people to book. They stole money which was meant for our people. Yes.
You know, when it comes to corruption, right? This is a song we have been singing for a very long time. And again, I would say one might be tempted to now ask and reiterate to your statement, saying, you know what? This is not the first time we're seeing corruption in key ministries. Like this particular period, these last 4.5 years is not the first time that we're seeing this happening. Some might say as well, there's other times when the can I say the capacity of institutions that are mandated to control situations like that, the ACC, of course, has been questioned, because we are seeing situations where, and this has been highlighted many times, where people are only being brought to books after a certain regime is out of office.
Changes, yes.
Yes, exactly. So your response to a situation like that, it's not the first time that we're seeing this happening. And so it points us to say, Mr. Kolala, that it's not just about the leaders of the day, that this has been a long-standing issue in a country like Zambia. Defend it from that standpoint.
So listen, Serena, the way it works is this. The current government is a UPND government. I cannot begin to contradict, or I cannot begin to condemn the PF government, the MMD government, and the NA government. They're no longer there. It's pointless. Even if I speak, to what end? I will speak against what is happening in the UPND government, because when I speak now, there is a likelihood that those things can be addressed. In other words, it is a situation or a scenario that can be changed. Previously, it cannot be changed. If I speak about PF, who was heading us under PF? ECL and Masad. Where are they? So if I begin to talk about them now, to what end? So the government that is there now is a UPND government.
Well, government aside, I wanted you to tackle it from the corruption.
Yes, standpoint. I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. When you talk about corruption, Serena, let us be serious. Now, this is a very, very touchy issue, and I'm very passionate about it. Let us be serious. We are not supposed to be seen to be applying laws and fighting corruption selectively. If we're going to fight corruption, we must fight corruption to deal with the vice, regardless of who is involved. I want to ride on the comments that the president gave when he was just taking over office. He said, under his leadership, there will be no sacred cows. And he said, when you engage in corruption, the famous phrase, you are on your own. Do you remember that phrase? You are on your own. Who have we seen to be on their own from 2021 to 2025? All we have seen is the persecution of past leaders. Yet there are allegations of corrupt practices that current government serving ministers are involved in. Last week, I saw the Anti-Corruption Commission, Serena, freeing or saying they are no longer investigating some ministers and some permanent secretaries. And I found that laughable.
Okay.
Now, let me give you a very practical example. And this practical example I want to give Serena. These are things that can be verified. They are actually sitting on the court records in the Livingston Magistrate Court. We have the Livingston mayor, for instance, who was engaged in corruption. Information was availed to that effect. It is on the court records. It's not malice. I'm not speculating. I'm not alleging. It is there on court records. How does such a person end up being acquitted? Tell me. And now, I don't know how true this is, that is it the SEC or is it the office of the DPP which is petitioning, or they are appealing that judgment? One of the two. They are saying they are appealing. We are not supposed to be found in such cases to begin with. Serena, how do you go to court and confirm, yes, I got money from this person, the recording is there, it is given, court records are there to prove that this person was involved in corruption, yet to go ahead and convict and acquit them? How do you apply the law like that? How do you select? And yet, we have other very sensitive and critical cases that are of national interest because a lot of people within our country are interested to know what is happening. We see it's almost like there's a blind eye. It's almost like it's almost like the UPND government is looking away, pretending what they have seen on the other side is not happening. And yet it is happening. Those are things that we have to talk about. And in the Tonse Alliance, I want to begin to be very, very clear. We condemn such kind of acts.
So we have touched on quite a lot. I did mention that we need to get to reading some of the contributions on our platform. Very important that we get the views of other citizens on national matters. For those that are listening on radio, you can join in by sending us a text message or a message on WhatsApp or a voice note on WhatsApp using the number 0773 792 We have touched on quite a lot so far, but we would like to get your views. 0773 792 is the number. Mr. Kolala, we are running out of time. We never have enough time for conversations like this one, and we can't have it all in this short period of time. But let's just see what we can squeeze in as we are in the dying minutes. So Eva Maloto started out by commenting that she's watching live from Foxdale Chamba Valley in Lusaka, Zambia. Lily Mutam's TV is watching as well. Mazimba Justine says data. Data. Mulenga Sarafina says watching you from Mauritius. Interesting there. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Chichi Kafula is watching as well. We're getting to other comments. Stu with Lily Mutams and Mulenga Sarafina, or just commenting, Mr. Kolala, on a number of the issues that you've talked about. So quite an interesting audience there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep leaving us your comments just as we are about to close out today's edition of the Weekend Pulse. Mr. Kolala, I'm even afraid to dive into so many other issues. I think we've barely touched a lot. There's agriculture, there's the energy sector. Overall, we like to get your views on topics like that one. But just get to telling us if you could describe the Tonse Alliance, just describing it in your own way, not speaking as someone that is campaigning, but just describing it. And the reason this question is so important is because when alliances like these are out in the public, eventually people have their views of what a certain body represents. This, of course, does get diluted because as much as you are coming from a standpoint as the opposition, you also have other people that are opposing you. Right. So then your view, the people's view of what the alliance is then gets diluted. So just describe it for us. What is the Tonse Alliance? What exactly is it? We've been hearing the word. Some people know, some don't know, but you tell us.
Great. And Serena, I was going to complain if you did not allow me to politic because you asked me a lot of technical questions and and I had to really just shake myself up. Now I like to thrive in this environment. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So now I am speaking as Tonse Alliance, but I think I was speaking more of the former. Yeah. But anyway, Tonse Alliance is an alliance that comprises of 13 political parties and 12 civil society organizations. Okay. I repeat, Tonse Alliance is an alliance that comprises of 13 political parties and 12 civil society organizations. These are groups of individuals and organizations that have come together with one common goal. And the focus is to fight for the plight of the majority Zambians. The Tonse Alliance was formed after 2021. And the reason it was formed is because of the injustices that the people have suffered during the tenure of the UPND government. So the reason, the purpose, the vision, the mission is to alleviate the Zambian people from the sufferings, from the injustices, from the torment. I can go on and on and on. And that is why the Tonse Alliance was created. So Tonse Alliance right now, as I speak, is a platform that allows for individuals that are like-minded to fight the ills of the current UPND government. And that is why we are pushing this agenda. And I want to say, I know you didn't ask me this question, but I'll say it. The Tonse Alliance is headed by our president, Honorable Brian Mundubile. I cannot leave radio without talking about President Brian Mundubile. That is our presidential candidate, even for the August elections. Our vice president is Honorable Chifumu Banda, State Council, and our second vice president is Madam Exilda Mwenya. Our Secretary General, I know was hosted on this platform, is Dr. Chris Zumanizimba, right? And we have all these other leaders. I am deputy spokesperson. Dr. Lawrence Mwelwa is a spokesperson, and I deputize him. Our national chairperson for the youth is Honorable Tasila Lungu, and she is deputized by Honorable Jean Chisenga, and also what's this young man's name? He's a young man. He's youthful like you. He's the deputy. But anyway, so that is Tonse Alliance. So in the alliance, we have players like the FDD, we have players like the Christian Democratic Party, and so on and so forth. So that is what Tonse Alliance is all about. Because you asked me, what is Tonse Alliance? So it is an alliance of political parties, individuals, civil society organizations that are like-minded, that are trying to fight the ills of the European government to make sure that we rescue our people from the current sufferings.
And you've given us the structure as well. Very important to note. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing a lot more of these solidified positions now in the public, right?
Sorry to cut you short, Serena. The reason why I had to do that is I have been having a lot of radio interviews and a lot of TV interviews, and these questions keep coming up. So I actually went ahead of you. Yeah. And I want to say this. We've had a lot of questions around which one is a legit Tonse. There's this other Tonse. No. There is only one Tonse.
Okay.
And there's only one Tonse, which is headed by Honorable Brian Mundubile as our president. And the structures I have outlined
is the official
structure. Communication, and the reason why I actually told you this is communication comes from any of these that I have listed. Dr. Lawrence Mwelwa is the spokesperson and I deputize him. So usually communication comes from either him or from me. Any other communication, kindly disregard. And the reason I'm saying this is because we have seen so many things in the media and I don't want to start addressing them and responding to that because I think we're bigger than that. What is important now is for the people to know that they have a platform on which they can ride, express their views, and express their discontent by making sure that they join this team, even as we try and remove the UPND government from office come 2016 August. Wow. I'm not politicking.
No, I asked that question because, like I mentioned, it's very important.
Yes.
You said that you have people that are expressing views that are not reflective of the alliance.
Yes.
This is why you telling us what exactly the alliance is very important. This is a critical year. We need to know who's out there. We need to know the leaders that are wanting to get into office. So just on that one, we need to close out, Mr. Kolala. I want you to package your closing remarks in under 2 minutes. We've talked about quite a lot. It may not touch on everything that we've talked about, but just give us your closing remarks, whatever place it may be coming from. Let it be something that will educate the public on just the Zambia that we want to see.
Excellent. Maybe allow me to say this, Serena. We are getting into Youth Week, and there's a lot of festivities that are going to take part as we build up to the Youth Day. I want to say that 7 days ago, as the Tonse Alliance, we admitted what is known as Ichabaiche onto the Tonse Alliance. Ichabaiche is a group of 640,000 youths that are headed by Honorable Bino Mbondo, who has joined the alliance and has declared or endorsed the candidature of President Brian Mundubile as the sole candidate for Tonse Alliance come August this year. And why am I saying so? That is because the president, and I mean Honorable Brian Mundubile, attaches great importance to the youths. And that is why he is calling himself Big Brother. Because in the past, we've seen situations where it's a relationship of a grandfather and a grandchild. How effective and efficient is the communication channel? From there, we moved to a scenario where there was the Bali and the child, or child and Bali. how effective is the communication. He comes, Honorable Brian Mundubile comes with this idea that I'm your big brother. Talk to me and I'll make it happen for you. So we call him Biggie. The young people must resonate with this kind of thinking. The young people must resonate and identify themselves with this kind of a platform, because we have a platform that makes the young people thrive. And that's why we have young people in our leadership structure. Look at me, for example. Do I look old? Serena, tell the listeners, do I look old?
No comments.
No comments. So we have young people like me.
Yeah.
We have young people like Honorable Tasila Lungu. Okay. We have young people like the SG Dr. Zimba.
Mm-hmm.
These are young people that have been appointed in very critical positions within the Tonse Alliance.
Okay.
And I was just trying to encourage and motivate the youths to come and join. However, my concluding remarks, as the deputy spokesperson of Tonse Alliance, okay, I want to thank you, Serena, for inviting me to the studio. Very grateful that we could share some of these insights. I know we spoke to a large extent on economic issues, youth empowerment, the growth of SMEs, health sector, and what I feel in my individual capacity are the things that we can do to improve some of these issues. And I want to say that it's very, very important that our citizens out there that are listening also should make sure that they participate in these activities of national importance, of national governance. Make sure that you step up, stand up, mm-hmm, be heard, stand up and be counted. Come August, vote. Exercise your right to vote. Do not engage in illicit activities. Do not engage in political violence. Do not accept to be used by politicians who have no good intention except their own. Let's ensure that we guard ourselves as young people. Let's maintain our dignity and let's make sure that we engage in productive discussions. My word to the politicians, both old and young, let us avoid name calling. Let us avoid insulting each other. Let's call for unity. These are elections. It's not an issue of life and death. There is life before the elections. There is life after the elections. We all have families, and all these families look up to us and they care for us. Let's ensure that we engage responsively. We engage respectively. You don't have to insult or fight to criticize. You can still criticize in your own way and people will hear you. This current democratic dispensation does not allow for violence. It does not allow for degradation and all these things. Mm-hmm. I want to encourage our people to involve constructively. And come August, make sure that you vote. Cast your vote. That is the only way your voice can be heard. That is the only way you can speak up and say, this is what I want. And those that are still trying to find fit, I would encourage them, let them come to Tonse Alliance. We are very, very much available. Our doors are open. We are admitting people. Let them come, let them join. We are calling it instead of saying the Brian Mundubile movement, we're calling it the BM8. So when you see we put hashtag BM8, that's what it means. So, Party Tonse Alliance. Kateka be Brian Mundubile. Hashtag BM8. Thank you, Serena.
Wow. On that note, thank you for coming through. We've talked about quite a lot. You've highlighted the Tonse Alliance. Now we know. Let's just say that. It's on record. Now we know, and I'm looking forward to possibly having more conversations on national matters. There's a lot that obviously is happening, a lot that will be unfolding, and we're definitely here for it as the media. We are a key player in disseminating information. I think we've talked about this before. We are a key player in ensuring that there's no misinformation out there. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been a part of the program, but this is not just for Mr. Kolala and I. This is for you to be a part of. You can always join in on the conversations here on Capital FM by using the number 0773-792-475. Do follow our Facebook page, that is Capital FM 99.7, and leave us more comments under this conversation. Catch up on what Mr. Kolala had to say about the state of the nation and the direction that we need to be taking. And of course, do leave us a comment. Mr. Kolala, thank you. We do have to close out. Looking forward to engaging with you more on this platform and beyond the platform on National Dialogue. Thank you so much. And for now, it's bye-bye.
Thank you.